Today we'll talk about essay writing, which is a part of your 8021 paper, that is General English paper 1. Now, it's a very critical component, 30 marks, as you know that. The paper is completely designated to essay writing. Let's go through some basics of this paper. It's like 1 out of 10 topics. You will get 10 topics, namely from the range of the domain of historical, social, political, economic, science, tech, and ethics. Total 10 topics you will get. And out of 10, you need to select one. Once you have selected the topic, you know the word limit is between 600 and 700 words. So the minimum is 600 and the maximum is 700. The maximum marks for this question is 30. And essay writing is a part of every competitive examinations, if you see. Why? Because ultimately through essay writing, we test the thought process in writing as well. Now, some basic assessment objectives we should be aware of it. To sum it up, assessment 1, you have 3 assessment objectives here: AO1, AO2, AO3. We'll talk about AO3 primarily here, but AO1 and AO2 is something like, in very simple terms, I've put up here for you. 1, relevant information in response to the question. So if you're selecting a topic like education is the ideal way to have a balance in society, in that case, of course, in the next part, in the next sentence, don't talk about space exploration is a wastage of money, because that's irrelevant. So of course, cohesion is needed. Second, there should be a scope of the responsiveness. You need to think from multiple angles. That's very important. And if you start thinking the topic, or if you explore the topic from multiple angles, then you will see writing 700 words become easy. Otherwise, writing for 700 words is not a matter of joke. Also, if you make a point, you need to give some examples or evidence to support and validate that. So it should not be talking in the air, as I say. You have made a point, now please validate it with some examples. Also, if possible, make sure that your examples are lifelike, believable. If you're aiming level 5, then the maximum is 30 and the minimum is 25. And if you're aiming for level 4, 19 is the minimum and 24 is the maximum. Now, let's talk about the assessment objective 3, which is very important. So I can see that first pointer is formal academic voice. The second, some advanced level vocabulary. Third, sophisticated structures. Fourth, coherent and cohesive response. Fifth, no contractions. Sixth, 2 paragraphs. Punctuation, variation in punctuation. And lastly, some transitions in my writing. Let's understand one by one. The first one is a formal academic voice, because primarily I'm writing the essay for academic reason. So in this case, my register should be formal. Now, I should be using, because that's the assessment objective is that you should be using advanced vocabulary. So for that matter, if you're using a word like complex, upgrade it to cumbersome. If you're using a word, let's say, puzzled, upgrade it to flummoxed. So advanced vocabulary, which means sophisticated vocabulary, should be there, followed by sophisticated structures. Here by structures, we mean sentence structures. So the syntax. If you're using simple sentences, okay, fine, that's great. You're using long sentences, cool, that's great. So what I need to do, I need to bring some variations in my sentence structure. What can I do for this? 1, I'll use parallel structures. 2, I can use set of 3. 3, I can use adverbial clauses. So these are just to suggest a few, but yeah, start bringing some change or variation into your sentence constructions. The fourth pointer is saying that coherent and cohesive response. This is one of the assessment objectives as well. Now, of course, your writing should be well structured. It should be well connected. So here we have thesis paragraph, a thesis statement, then you make your point, then you give evidence to validate that. So it should be cohesive, well connected, well organized. So if you're going for, let's say, anti-view, it should come towards the end before you give up your conclusion. So you will have proper intro followed by some body paragraphs, the didactic method, and simple. Of course, as I said at the outset, you need to write in formal register, so no contractions. Avoid contractions because it's your formal writing, so no contractions. Two paragraphs, this is purely for aesthetic. There is no other reason for it. So if you write two paragraphs on your answer booklet, you will see that it looks really nice. So because of that reason, it's suggested. Otherwise, there is no specific reason behind it. Next, punctuation. Very often we ignore this part. Very often we ignore this part. So this is something also we need to work on. Like instead of using commas and periods, which are pretty imperative to write any sentences, what we need to do is we need to upgrade and move to some advanced punctuation like colon, semicolon, or M dashes for that matter, parentheses in case if I'm planning to use some non-essential information in my essay, I can use parentheses as well, M dashes as well for that matter. So upgrade your punctuations as well. Lastly, transitions. Transitions are, needless to say, very critical and very important part of your essay writing because they give a guidance, they give a logical flow. It helps you to maneuver your writing and navigate across your points. So please use transitions. You might be knowing this as connectors or linking words, or for that matter, conjunctive adverb. It's the same thing I'm referring to. Transitions. Example, however, moreover, having said this, like as a discourse marker. Well, now, please do use it. Let's say you have written the first body paragraph and now you're moving to the next. So that it's better that if you have a transitional word there, or maybe the words of sequence, firstly, subsequently, anything. But yeah, transitional words should be there. To sum it up, out of 10, you need to pick one. Once you have decided the topic, no matter what the topic is, the assessment objectives are clear and same. A, write according to the question, relevant it should be. B, whatever the points you're making should be validated with some evidences. Third, the assessment objective that we discussed at length here. Make sure you're writing in formal register. Make sure you're using some good vocabulary and some good sentence structures. You are using some variations in your punctuations as well. And at the end, transitions. So please do use transitions. If you inculcate all these things, definitely you will be writing a good essay.